now live. Okay. Do I need to do roll call again, or
I think that would be very helpful. We also are just working at resetting Councillor Jans's time.
It's fine. I yielded to the chair. I'm done.
okay? All right, roll call. Councillor Wright.
I'm here.
Good
Councillor
evening.
Brigitte. Councillor Prince-Pay.
Hello.
Councillor Stevenson.
Good evening.
Councillor Piquet.
Good evening.
Councillor Tang.
Hello.
Councillor Hamilton.
Hello.
Councillor Rutherford.
Hello.
Councillor Salvador.
Hello.
Councillor Cardinal.
Hello.
Councillor Rice.
Good evening.
And Councillor Jans.
Good evening.
All right. We were, okay, Councillor Jans, you concluded your questions?
Yes, I did.
Okay, do we have anyone else on the list? You have one more question? Can someone move the second round, third round,
So
please?
move third round.
Second.
Okay, please vote for the third round. It is unanimous. So everybody okay? Okay, that's fine. For Andrew Knack, sure, why not? He's a nice guy. Okay. Councillor Knack, go ahead.
Thank you. Just the last question I didn't get to ask. Wanted to ask Ms. Secord if is Carol Secord, are you still here?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. You touch, and actually maybe Ms. McNaughton, I'll end up asking you both sort of the same question, just around the heritage preservation piece. Very much on board wanting to see that advance. There's obviously been some conversations at council, and we haven't been able to, we haven't made a decision to finish the work yet for Glenora specific, and there's a broader heritage management strategy that we have to do as a city. I think my more general question, with recognizing my desire to actually see some work happening in at least parts of Glenora where there are a large percentage of heritage homes. If we do that, what is that? Are we comfortable with that meaning change in other parts of Glenora in order to make sure we're preserving those key heritage areas? So if that does mean some higher density in other parts of the same neighborhood, I wanted to get a thought on how both of you feel. Maybe I'll start with you, Ms. Secord, and then to Ms. McNaughton.
Well, first of all, I'm here speaking just as myself, and I'm not sure why I have feedback. So I'll speak slowly. And tomorrow there will be a person speaking, I think, on behalf of the Glenora Conservation Society. But my sense is that we're not people who are putting our head underneath rocks and not wanting anything to change. In fact, many people who live over here value 15-minute communities. So, yeah, I do think that there's room for real conversation and what is like, yes. So I'll be quick, right? I don't want to ramble in answer to your question. Yes, I think that there's room for discussion. And there's room for understanding perspectives, right? Like I walk in my neighborhood all the time and literally I have 15, 20, 30 conversations over a week with people who are at Alexander Circle. People see that as a city historic park, but I happen to know that the city and the community league are arguing over who's responsible for maintaining it. So there's a disconnect about urban heritage park and the look and feel of a space that is special. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McNaughton, anything you wanted to add on your end?
I would adopt those final comments that were just made, because I think it's more, it's certainly the preservation of the heritage involves some of the very, in my view, significant heritage structures. But Glenora has a heritage character that is the neighborhood. And so I can't give you a yes to your question, especially when I don't know what you're proposing.
No, absolutely.
And preservation of the neighborhood is what I urge this council to be cognizant of and to recognize that aligns with one of the goals of the city plan.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you so much. Councillor Jans, are you from the previous round or you have more questions?
Previous round. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so that concludes the questions to this panel. Thank you so much. Please, you can step back. We will go to our next panel. So we are on panel 10. Yeah, thanks. Okay. There's for a few more days yet to go. But it's part of our job. John Howard, joining remotely. Christine Wiesenthal, in person?
Yes, I'm here.
Remotely, thank you.
Yeah.
Teresa Eva Lemire, in person or remotely? Teresa Eva Lemire, no. David R. Percy, in person or remotely? Nope. Anne Burban McRae, remote? Anna Burban McRae, joining remotely? No. Karen Hughes, remotely?
Yes, hello, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Raquel Fiore, remotely?
Yes, remote.
Thank you, Rocky. Nadine Califu, right? Shelley Fu. Nadine Shelley Fu, right here. I should have known. You were right there, Nadine. In person, Edmonton Coalition on Housing and Homelessness. Lindsay Sturden, Glenora Community League. In person, please come, Lindsay. You'll be number 10. Gordon First, in person. Gordon, you'll be number 11. Roger Verrett, in person. Roger, you'll be number 12. Kelsey Becker Brooks, remotely. No worries. At this time, we will mark her absent, but we will call her name as we go through the process. Lynn Odinsky, Old Glenora Conservation Association, in person. Lynn, please come down. You'll be number 14. Yessi Bill, in person? No, or remotely? No. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Sorry. Please, you'll be number 15. My mistake. Maxine Kwan, remotely? No. Robin Day, in person. Robin, please come down. It'll be number 17. James Matheson, joining remotely. Nope. Okay. We will start with Christine Wiesenthal. Please go ahead.
Hi there. Hello, Mayor, City Councilors, fellow Edmontonians. My name's Chris, and I moved to Edmonton in 1989. I've lived in many parts of the city as a renter and a homeowner, including the West End, South End, Downtown Core, Riverdale, Centertown. I currently own an older home in Strathcona, the sort of house that is listed on Edmonton's historical registry as being of historical significance, but it would likely be torn down for expensive infill if I sold. I prepared for this meeting by reading the city bylaw and attending information sessions hosted by both Climate Justice and the Coalition for Better Infill. And I want to thank those groups for helping me to access information and sharing their research. It really makes me feel good about living in Edmonton to be surrounded by such committed fellow citizens. From what I've heard so far, there seems to be a fairly broad consensus on affordability and environmental sustainability as key issues, including for those of us who are speaking at in this portion of the public hearing, most of whom are not against densification or diversification. My main message is that any new plan for zoning renewal has to have the public good explicitly enshrined within it at its core. So the lack of any mention in the wording of the zoning plan of affordable housing and sustainable environmental standards is not just an oversight, in my view. It is a fundamental policy failure that needs to be addressed now before any new laws go into effect. So I don't support the plan as it is currently drafted. My suggestions would be that any streamlining or loosening of restrictions on development in new districts for user-friendly ends need to be part of a more comprehensive suite of urban reforms that would include explicit criteria for developers to provide minimal units of affordable housing, explicit criteria for developers to build to higher environmental standards, explicit criteria that make developers responsible for any adverse knock-on effects of new infill that goes in. And we've heard about the example of somebody's solar roof being knocked out of commission, or gardens. Will there be, if fewer of us have gardens or can use them to grow things, will there be adequate access to community garden spaces for both new and current residents of an impacted area? Who would provide this and where would they be? I think we need to see a detailed plan for municipal infrastructure supports that would be commensurate with the extent of densification. And these services need to be controlled and overseen by the city so that critical public utilities, the power grid, sewer, and public transit upgrades especially are not simply left to developers on good faith. We need, and this has been brought up by Devin Begg, we need to regulate the short-term rental market and ghost hotels that have eroded the stock of existing housing options and adversely impacted vacancy rates in the city. We need to take care of what's happening outside the Anthony Henday. If we're going to incentivize what densification within the Henday, then we should also think about disincentivizing urban sprawl beyond it. Otherwise, we're not doing anything. And finally, I do think there needs to be a meaningful appeal mechanism to empower residents, whatever the new plan goes forward. So I've heard earlier speakers say that we can deal with the issues of affordability and climate crisis later, and I would respectfully disagree. I think that there's too much at stake in this overhaul of Edmonton's zoning bylaws to simply trust that these gaps would be ironed out after the fact. So I would, as a citizen, like to see the evidence first that the city has rethought the fundamental goals of this renewal plan in a way that explicitly centers the two core issues of affordability and environmental sustainability. And I'd like to see more evidence that the city has really thought through the important implications of the new zoning bylaw.
Thank you so much.
Bylaws.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Karen Hughes.
Can I have a point of order, Mayor? Is it possible for the city clerk channel to turn down the volume? It's really hard to hear when there's so much reverb.
We'll see what we can do here.
My suggestion is that if you do not have a headset on and you have one available, that you use the headset. We cannot control the sound on your side. I don't know if there's any sound issues that anyone's reporting on this side.
Yes, if somebody's speaking, is the noise from the chamber that laid back through the YouTube?
We can ask.
We'll see what we
our
can do,
sound
Rocky.
folks to take.
But
a look.
in the meantime, like if you maybe turn the volume down or use the headset, right? So we'll try to figure it out. Thank you for that, flagging that. Okay, Karen, go ahead, please.
Thank you, and I hope you can hear me all right.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's good to be with you, Mayor Sohi and councillors. I really appreciate you being here late in the evening. I grew up in a City of Edmonton household. My dad was very involved in senior administration with the Council of Mayor Ivor Dent. So I'm having some memories of seeing him come home late at night from hearings like this. And I just want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. As you know, my name is Karen Hughes. I live near the university where I teach and conduct research on labor market inequality and inclusive economies. I grew up in Edmonton. I've lived in several neighborhoods. I also lived for 6 years in the UK in what we call here 15-minute communities. That experience had a very big impact on me. And when I returned to Edmonton to work at the university, I bought a small house near my workplace. I ride my bike year round as my main mode of transportation. I drive a car rarely and only under duress. And my family and I live with a commitment to reducing our climate footprint as much as possible. I also work daily with young adults, post-secondary students. I'm very aware of their concerns over climate change, housing affordability, inequality, conflict around the globe, and I share all of those concerns. Given all of this, one might expect me to have been speaking in favor of the charter bylaw, and I wish I could. But I'm afraid, with all due respect to people who have worked on this very hard, I have serious reservations about it. I do support the city plan. I think we have an excellent city plan. It's visionary. And I believe the zoning bylaw has some good features, but I don't believe it is ready to be considered or passed. In fact, I'm surprised to see it coming forward. It falls short, in my view, has gaps, and it has inconsistencies. Let me just highlight a few concerns, and I'm sorry I will repeat a few things others have said, but I do want to give you a high-level list. Questions. How does the zoning bylaw work with the district plan, and why have these not been brought together for approval? I find it impossible to understand the impact of one without the other, and it's clear from some past exchanges here today that others do too. Secondly, does the zoning bylaw really include all of the tools we need in our toolkit to deal with climate mitigation? Like others, I have questions about green space, trees, landscaping, and the lack of what I will call green building features writ large. Third, how is the RS, the small scale residential zone, the 8-plexes that people are calling it now, how is that compatible with nodes and corridors approach, which aims to concentrate density, not spread it around the city, to concentrate it near transit and amenities? Do we want 8-plexes scattered all over the city or lining the river valley? That will simply put more cars on the road. So why don't we have a differentiated zone for that? I just don't really follow this. Fourth, what mechanisms, if any, are in the zoning bylaw to ensure manageable growth? The city plan puts forward a growth management framework. The assumption that changes will be gradual, I heard this throughout the hearing, seem very overly optimistic. We are deregulating radically a housing market in order to speed things up, cut red tape. So what tools will we actually have to manage growth? Where will they exist? What policies will ensure those? Fifth, can the zoning bylaw do more to help with the critical issue of housing affordability? If not, what other city policies will support this? We had some very good comments and suggestions from people. It's a huge issue, and I study labor markets. I know it's not only up to the city to deal with policies, it's a very complex issue, but are we doing enough in the zoning bylaw? And lastly, why does the zoning bylaw in front of us not reform the role of planners and the planning system we have? Many people have suggested that we need developer side and community side planners who work with integrity between those groups and a neutral appeal panel. I would like to urge council, with all respect, to recognize the historical nature of this decision. Remember, past councils have made very difficult, far-sighted decisions like stopping freeway development in the River Valley. My father was involved in that decision. It was not an easy decision, but it was the right decision. Please return this bylaw to City Admin to do the best work it can. Please encourage City Admin to use new methods like high quality surveys, and please ask them to bring back a better developed bylaw with a district plan jointly to help us move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Karen, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Next, we're going to go to Rocky Fiore. Go ahead, please.
All right, wake up, everyone. There's going to be a quiz at the end. The zoning bylaw renewal initiative increases development pressure on the river valley with too many discretionary uses. It also makes it very difficult to establish new natural areas despite approved plans that call for a net increase. So Edmonton, we know, is losing 75 acres of river valley land each year. That happened between 2000 and 2015. And since 2015, subsequent loss has meant losing another 200 acres. So I want to look at Louise McKinney Park to give you a really concrete example of how the new zoning bylaw worsens protections in the valley. The new zoning bylaw allows the footprint expansion of each of up to 5 restaurants permissible in Louise McKinney Park by 40 square meters each. So that's on page 166 of the bylaw. The ribbon of green planning incorporates ecological sensitivity mapping to ensure we're achieving the goals of Breathe, Ribbon of Green, and section 1.4.2.1 of city plan calling us to protect, restore, maintain, and enhance a system of conserved natural areas within a functioning and interconnected ecological network. So we're facing climate, biodiversity, and income inequality crises. They're more severe than we understood when the River Valley planning was last completed. And we have appetite now to strengthen it. And we know we have to stop building in floodplains. So I feel the carbon intensive gray infrastructure doesn't belong in the valley. We need to save our carbon budget for creating complete neighborhoods. And investment in infrastructure needs to result in enough excess wealth to maintain that infrastructure. And time again, we're facing operational budgets. So the blue and green infrastructure in the valley is cost avoidance, where we have our lifeline in terms of biodiversity and climate change. It's where we put our nature-based solutions. So I would like to hold off on third reading. And the positives I see by doing that is to allow the district plans and the River Valley modernization to inform zoning. So let's look at our vision, let's look at our planning, and then let's do the land use laws rather than the other way around. And let's ask the right questions. Let's focus on the really important priorities that I think we all are speaking to: climate change, income inequality, and biodiversity loss. So that's basically all I have to say. I see a real advantage in asset-based community development. You know, with the district planning process, I can see all of us that really seem, pro and con, that seem really keen to have affordability, climate resilience built into our planning. And, so you use the capacity in the room during the district plans. I think that's where we can really decide where we want density and how we're going to get to affordability and answer a lot of the questions that we're all struggling with today. And I think it's really important to bring the new climate manager in and have him help inform the River Valley modernization and the district plans. And we're hiring him. Let's act as quickly as we can. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rocky, for sharing your thoughts with us. And next, we will go to Nadine Shalifu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Tanse, good morning. Oh, I guess it's not morning anymore. Sorry. It's good evening. members of City Council, Mayor Sohi. My name is Nadine Shalafu. I'm an independent advocate and the chair of EEKO, which is Edmonton Coalition on Housing and Homelessness. EEKO appreciates your time today. I will share some comments more fully presented in our written submission that you've already received. The focus on this new zoning bylaw is not what is needed most at this time. EEKO recommends that City of Edmonton ensure it has a full description of what we want and need our communities to be like, and a plan to get to that point before we focus on details of what housing is permitted to be built where. Make district plans a priority. We also recommend as a foundation for this work that a measurable plan for how the city will ensure the human right to adequate housing is in place, so that housing that responds to this vital commitment has a priority in decisions about development. Only when these things are achieved does the work of a new zoning bylaw have a context that will benefit people with limited financial resources currently experiencing the negative consequences of inadequate housing and its too frequent endpoint of homelessness. Without this, a new zoning bylaw will only offer a new process for developers who currently do well in the housing market to continue to do so, and for more options to be available for the people who have fiscal resources to make choices in a for-profit market. EEKO does not dispute the benefits of updating a zoning bylaw to better address current realities. However, zoning is about the use of land and what sort of housing is developed on it. We caution that having a city where every person benefits from the human right to adequate housing is not going to be assisted by a zoning bylaw alone. Our disappointment with the focus on the zoning bylaw centers on two concerns. One, the new bylaw is following a route that offers little reason to see we will have communities that are more equitable, safe, and healthy as a result of it. And two, the perspective of the bylaw embraces the flawed trickle-down method about housing, or theory about housing. The city has focused on the zoning bylaw without recognizing that good district plans in place before the bylaw, there is little possibility it will contribute to communities that support a quality of life good for every person. It will not support the development of the other features that make livable communities, parks, transit, libraries, food, health, social services, childcare, and more. Without other city requirements in place, developers will continue to build housing that makes a profit for them. That is why they exist. They will continue to expand suburbs, they will participate in increased density in existing neighborhoods, but since the zoning bylaw is silent on whether housing is affordable or not, there is nothing in it to increase housing supply for those with little money. Housing will be built for those who can pay what the market is asking. The trickle-down principle does not work with housing. No matter how much the supply of housing is increased at the high end, housing will not magically become available for those who cannot afford market costs for their housing. Housing has moved from being a human issue to an economic one in recent years. Federal and provincial governments abandoned commitment to social housing. The rapid expansion of financialization in housing more recently is resulting in a further threat to housing security for all. EEKO does not believe there is a trickle-down benefit when we build more market housing that will benefit those who live in deep housing insecurity. We do believe a clear path can be mapped from the challenges that arise from living in housing that is too expensive or unhealthy or insecure of tenure to reaching a place of being without any housing at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nadine. I think we will see if we can hear from two more people or one. We'll see how this goes. Next will be Lindsay Sturton, Glenora Community League.
Hi.
Good.
I've got a slide deck. Is that available?
Okay. Here we go.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Sohi, city councilors.
Can you speak a little close to the mic if you don't mind?
Am I better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mayor Sohi, city councilors, you're at the end of day 2. This is exhausting for you. I really thank you all for your efforts here. It's 10 to 9. On behalf of the Glenora Community League and multiple families in Glenora, I'm here to speak in opposition of the new zoning bylaw and citywide rezoning as proposed. Development and density are important, but without thoughtful planning, the current proposal will be catastrophic to neighborhoods across the city. I want to live in a neighborhood where community and developers are working together to create cohesive spaces. Not cookie-cutter conforming, but different types of housing that complement existing neighborhoods and bring communities together. The dream is to have homes in each neighborhood that support seniors staying in their community, university students, new to Canada, old professionals, young professionals, all types of families at different life stages in the same neighborhood, but not at the expense of turning our neighborhoods into downtown. Let's talk about the gaps in the current proposal. There's no consideration for neighboring properties. Have a look at the slide here, please. This is across the street from my house. The duplex is built this year. It is completely dwarfing that 1948 bungalow, and they no longer have any sunshine on their south side. The damage this is causing within the community, I mean, it's breeding hostility and anger between neighbors and builders, not harmony. And I don't think that's the intent. And that's with current zoning. When the new zoning rolls out, this is just going to exacerbate this issue. The one-size-fits-all approach is another gap I see in the current plan. Instead of the carte blanche approach to zoning, let's consider pre-approved architecture styles that integrate new infill into mature neighborhoods. Speaker Greg Whiston-Smith, who spoke in favor of the bylaw in panel 1, suggested this. Let's explore this idea. It's a great idea. Heights and setbacks. Current heights and setbacks allow for the density needed for better integration of new builds into existing neighborhoods. We don't need to go bigger. We need to plan better. Green space. I'm happy to see minimum 30% softscaping has been added to the ZBR, but if we're increasing density, we need more green space to allow for water runoff. The earlier speakers working in architecture and development are saying 50% soft landscaping is needed. Please make this change to the proposed bylaw. The tree canopy. To keep our urban canopy, there must be some incentive to retain mature trees on lots. The canopy cools our streets in the summer, cleans wildfire smoke from the air, shelters us from wind and storm. Baby trees don't do this. There's no community appeal. Yesterday we had a speaker who talked about a crematorium being built in a neighborhood. The community had no appeal, and that does not exist as far as I could see in this new zoning plan either. There always needs to be an appeal process. And then there's the public engagement. Public engagement, much of it happened during COVID and online. You lost 2 years there. We need to pick that up a little bit. My biggest challenge with the ZBR proposal is with the communities being asked to give a thumbs up on the massive zoning change when we don't even know what the final district plans looks like. Could you go to the last slide for me, please? It's just 3 in. Administration did a great job at presenting the ZBR this morning. In that presentation, the part that really stuck out for me was the city plan alignment slide, where it has the city plan, the district plans, structure plans, neighborhood plans, and zoning bylaw. Help me understand why the zoning bylaw is the first piece being changed. To set out the granular detail before providing the vision seems completely backwards to me. It is impossible for residents to understand the impacts of the zoning bylaw without first knowing the effects of the district plans. Zoning and district plans are separate issues, I realize that, but they influence each other. The influence they have on each other is impactful. To not present them together is not being transparent to Edmontonians. Speaking with various councillors and city employees at zoning meetings, we've been encouraged to find your new zone on the map. When I look at this, if the current ZBR is approved, we could very soon see 3-story apartment buildings mid-block. And then I look at the district plan overlay and find my zone again. Our neighborhood is flanked by 1 primary corridor and 3 secondary corridors. Once the district plan overlay goes through, we could see approval for 5 to 8-story mid-rise apartments mid-block without any community say.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Lindsay, Gordon first.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to express my views and opinions. My name is Gordon First. I am a retired professional engineer with 30 years of experience in municipal engineering that included planning and construction of municipal infrastructure. My wife and I are citizens of the City of Edmonton. We have lived in the neighborhood of Rio Terrace for 62 years. Rio Terrace is our home. We are residential property owners. We are taxpayers of the City of Edmonton. We are members of our local Rio Terrace Community League. Considering all of the above, some of the Aboriginal citizens of our city might rank me in the position of being similar to that of an elder. That being said, please know that at this point in time and considering the current new zoning bylaw issue, I am most definitely a concerned residential property owner. As a matter of fact, I am a very concerned residential property owner. Hence, I am opposed to the current zoning bylaw in its present zone, in its present form. As a farm boy, it turns my stomach and sickens me to see quarter sections of productive farmland stripped of black topsoil and replaced with buildings and asphalt and concrete. That land will never, never, ever again be used to prepare and grow food. I understand the negative aspects of urban sprawl. On the other hand, I understand the merits and necessities of increasing residential population densities in our changing world. So here we are, faced with a proposed new zoning bylaw that is touted to solve all these challenges in one fell swoop, apparently without the support of the majority of residential property owners. Does that make sense? My neighborhood is my home. The city is renovating my home. I want to participate in the planning process. With regard to the current proposed zoning bylaw, I am very concerned that we are not going to achieve the best results possible. This is due, in my opinion, to a major serious lack of communication and a lack of exchange of ideas and suggestions between our city and the thousands of property owners who will be impacted by this proposed new zoning bylaw. For example, I first became aware of the zoning bylaw by an article in the Edmonton Journal only recently, in June of 2023. As for our community league, over the last 2 years, there has been no information, verbal or written, presented to members of our league concerning the zoning bylaw. In my opinion, city communication on this topic has been a total failure. It seems reasonable to me that residential property owners who have played a role in building the city must have a role in assisting and shaping our city for the future. In my opinion, a true democracy, we should all have a clear path of communication that allows for input into changing rules that are packaged into something called a zoning bylaw. From my level of understanding and from my point of view, there has been no clear path for communication with residential property owners, and there has been no serious provision for input from residential property owners. Therefore, please. Therefore, please, I beg you, please, hit the pause button and delay enacting this proposed new zoning bylaw.
Thank you so much.
Then let's move forward.
Thank you so much. So at this point, unfortunately, I have to stop the clock because we are at 9:02, and we will have to start tomorrow morning at 9:30. And yeah, we'll see you in the morning. Yeah. And
Mayor,
sorry, go ahead.
Could we just remind the speakers in panel 10 that there are still questions of this panel? And so even those who have spoken
Yes.
may wish to join at 9:30 tomorrow to receive
That's right.
questions.
So everyone who is part of panel 10, you might have spoken already, but there might be questions from council members to you. So if you wish to come back, please do so. If you can't come back, that will be fine too as well, right? But we would encourage you to come back if you can. So we will start our discussion tomorrow at 9:30.